Top 6 countries that were never colonized. Today we will be going through 6 countries that were able to resist being taken over by foreign forces. We will explain why and how did this happen, and go through some interesting facts about them. Number 6. Nepal. Nepal is one of the countries that was never colonized despite some efforts from the British. From 1814 to 1816, the Nepalese military forces fought in the Anglo-Nepalese War, also known as the Gorkha War. Nepal had some natural advantages, like terrain, which was one of the crucial factors in determining the course of the war. To the British, who were used to fighting in the plains, but were unacquainted with the terrain of the hills, Nepal's topography was a huge disadvantage. Unwilling to face that kind of terrain, British forces left Nepal as an independent state. The British played a strategic game and colonized India. However, Nepal was aware of the threats and the plans of the British people beforehand, and didn't fall into their trap. Instead, Nepal established friendly relations with the British India Company to prevent the possible war. One more reason that Nepal was not colonized was the bravery of the Gurkha army. The British army was impressed by the military capabilities of the Gurkha troops and recruited them for the colonial army. Number 5. Iran. The world's most powerful nations, Britain and Russia, were interested in controlling Iran at the time the Persian Empire because of its strategic location that connected Asia to Europe. Russia managed to capture some of the northern areas of the empire, present-day Turkmenistan, in the 19th century. Similarly, British forces gained power in the eastern region of the Persian Empire near present-day Pakistan. During this time, the vast majority of Iran was under the rule of the Qadr dynasty, which had borrowed money from European banks. Unable to pay, the British and Russian governments reached an agreement that they would control and share the Persian revenue from various incomes. While the Persian Empire never agreed to this condition, it did prevent the country from being officially colonized. Moving on to number 4. China. Through history, some parts of China were under foreign rule, but the whole territory of the country was never colonized. During the European powers' attempt to control the world, the Chinese Empire was not easy to conquer as it had a powerful army and government like the Ottoman Empire. The large territory of the country made it no easy target for colonization by the foreign forces. Britain and France, instead of gaining colonial rule, were able to gain some power over China through their imports and exports. Their status as favored nations grew during the First and Second Opium Wars from 1839 to 1842 and from 1856 to 1860. Seeing the benefit of being a favored nation, the United States, Russia, and Italy wanted the same status. Rather than being colonized, China's coastal areas were divided between Western powers, causing the Qing dynasty to lose some but not all of its control. But even with this, China is still considered not colonized and made it to our list. Number 3. Japan. Japan is known for being not so open for communications with the rest of the world, which also played a part in the country evading colonization. In preventing to be colonized by Western forces, the country initiated the political revolution called Meiji Restoration of 1868 that brought about the final end of the military government of Tokugawa shogunate, who was ruling in Japan since 1603 and returned control of the country to direct imperial rule under Prince Matsuhito. This social and political reform prepared the country to successfully defeat the dynasty of China during the First Sino-Japanese War that marked the emergence of Japan as a major world power and demonstrated the weakness of the Chinese Empire. Number 2 on our list is Thailand. Thai people often considered their nation as a land of freedom, which was earlier known as the Kingdom of Siam. It was located between Indochina, now Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, and Burma, today called Myanmar. King Chulalongkorn, who is considered one of the greatest kings of Thailand, worked to adopt several European customs, and became interested in European technology in an attempt to prevent colonization. He also made diplomatic efforts in Britain. This minimized the possibility of colonization by Europe and France. Although Thailand escaped colonialism, it still adopted Western ideas. And finally, number 1 on our list is Ethiopia. Ethiopia is Africa's oldest independent state and one of 2 African countries that avoided colonial rule. Important person in the history of Ethiopia which managed to keep Ethiopia independent was Emperor Menelik II. He was Emperor of Ethiopia from 1889 to his death in 1913. Menelik also introduced several significant changes. For example, his decision in the late 1880s to locate the royal seat to Addis Ababa or the New Flower led to it becoming a permanent capital in the 1890s. As Menelik started expanding his empire, European colonial powers started showing an interest in the territories surrounding Ethiopia. During his rise to power, Menelik struggled to control Ethiopia against his internal rival, Emperor Johannes IV. The Italians allied with him and began supplying Ethiopia with weapons in hopes that Menelik would eventually surrender his power to them. In 1885, Italian troops occupied Eritrea, at the time still a province of Ethiopia. The seizure by Italians of huge swathes of agricultural fields in the highlands sparked an anti-colonial revolt in the Ethiopian army. In response, the Italians invaded the Tigray region, but faced the resistance of Ethiopian troops who defeated them in the Battle of Adwa in 1896. This victory brought Ethiopia new prestige as well as general recognition of its sovereign status by the European powers. In the peace treaty that followed, Emperor Menelik II renounced Ethiopian claims to the Italian colony of Eritrea in exchange for the recognition of Ethiopia as an independent state. So that way, Ethiopia managed to fight off European forces and has our #1 place on our list. That would be all for our list of the countries that were not colonized. Please comment what you think about the video and give your ideas. Don't forget to subscribe.